This sort of ties back to the same sort of thing. Don't confuse motion with progress. One of the big issues that we have working at PassageMaker is that people oftentimes are excited to be dealing with China for the first time. This is a cool thing. Hey, maybe I get to go to China. And so there's a lot of excitement and sort of frenzied activity when what we really want you to do, and I say this as I said, a lot of this applies to just new product development, new business formation, is calm down and think through what you're trying to accomplish. Well, I want to buy something from China. Okay, what do you want to buy? Well, I don't know yet. Well, then come back to me when you do know. Don't email me, don't call me until you know. Okay, well, I want to buy garments. Okay, what kind of garments? Blue jeans. Okay, well, do you know what type of fabric do you want? What type of stitching do you want? Is there any embellishment? What sort of pockets are there? What leg design? Is it flare? Is it straight? If you don't know those answers, all you're going to do is drive the supplier crazy, or anybody you're dealing with crazy, trying to figure those things out. At the same time, if you do know exactly what you want to do, take the time to organize your thoughts before you convey them to someone in another country who speaks a different language. Too often we have customers who, they'll start 4 or 5 different email threads, 10 different email threads, each one of them addressing a different subject, but then they confuse what they're talking about in those different email threads, and you have to spend hours going through all of them trying to filter out the little important pieces of each one of those email threads. Well, in this thread over here, he told me what he wanted the packaging to look like, and in this one over here, he gave me the barcode that he wanted put on the package, and in this one over here, he said what kind of stitching he wanted on the pillowcase. That's not an effective way of communicating. That's a lot of motion, but it's not a lot of progress, so don't confuse the two. If you're going to be communicating, especially if you're going to be communicating directly with a Chinese supplier, when you're talking to me, I speak English. You speak English. That's going to be easy, okay? If need be, we can get on the phone. But if you're dealing with a Chinese supplier who doesn't have an English speaker on staff, or the English speaker maybe writes well but doesn't speak well, and believe me, they're two completely different skills. All you're going to do is confuse the issue with this blizzard of disjointed information. So take the time to organize what it is you're trying to say, put it in the simplest, concise manner possible. If you can, use a service like Dropbox or Box, or some type of online filing system where you can post the documents to a single location and say, okay, we're going to practice basic revision control. Today I put up a drawing that's, whatever the title of it is, this is revision 1. Okay? If we make a change to the drawing, we're going to remove revision 1 from that box, and we're going to put revision 2 in. And if we change the revision 2, we're going to remove that one, and we're going to put revision 3 in the box. So that the supplier only has the most current version and can't screw it up. Same thing with when you're sending instructions. Send them in a concise format, send them in bullet point format. Don't use idioms or slang or foul language. Put it in the simplest possible English you can so that it's clearly understood. Let's see here. I will also tell you I'm really bad with PowerPoint and I hate using it, so I have to remind myself what I wrote on here. Anyway, same thing with factory visits. I had a client one time, and God love him, he was a great guy, a fellow from Mexico, and he thought China was the neatest place on earth, and so he came and he would hang out for 3 weeks at a time. Well, all that does is drive everybody stark raving mad. I mean, you know the old saying, what stinks after 3 days, house, guests, and fish? Okay, well, can you imagine having a client hanging around the shop for 3 weeks doing essentially nothing but getting in your way? If you're going to go to China and make a visit, make sure that it's organized in advance, that you know what you're going to talk about, that the supplier understands what's on the agenda, and then you stick to it and then you leave, okay, so that he can get back to work. I used to do business with Harley Davidson, and some of the folks there would call me 5 times a day. Finally got to the point where I would say, Eric, I can't get you the quote unless you let me off the phone. Same thing, I can't start working on your project unless you go home. So, all right, let's see. Did I cover everything? Yes. One thing I want to point out, and I think we'll get into this a little bit more. POs and contracts and drawings and all of those things. POs and contracts, especially in China, are critical, and I think we will get into this a little bit later on. Don't ever send a purchase order in the body of an email. Don't write an email and say, hey, I want to buy 100,000 of these pieces, please send them to me. Take the time to write a purchase order. Take the time to write a purchase order that actually conforms to Chinese law, so you've got something enforceable when something goes wrong. Remember Murphy's Law, it will go wrong.